Thanatos, let the harvest begin.
Hello there everybody, you're the audience, I'm SuperSonicBlur and welcome to the next God Guide kit explanation and build for Thanatos, the Hand of Death. Very, very strong god within Smite right now, can very easily fulfill the solo lane and as a jungler, very high pressure early game and can transition himself well into the late game with just some very, very interesting bits and pieces about on his kit. So ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, let's get into Thanatos, the Hand of Death. So Thanatos' passive is called Harvester of Souls. Enemy gods within his ultimate's execute threshold are revealed to Thanatos. Dealing the killing blow to enemies also empowers Thanatos, healing him based off the maximum HP of the target and reducing his active cooldowns. Additionally, all of Thanatos' abilities cost health and mana to use. So unlike every other god, not only do they require mana to use, but they will also require a percentage of his health, of his current health to use. The HP restored is 20% of the target's max HP. On minions, this is of 10% of their HP, and the cooldown reduction is 5 seconds when you get a kill. This is really, really strong. This enables him to start snowballing and chaining kills based off the fact that he can hit something out, throw out, get a kill, heal up, then also be able to reduce his cooldowns and keep using those abilities. Thanatos is a very strong ability based assassin, so as a result, being able to reduce those cooldowns is very, very useful. The attack chain, we have a 1.75 and then a 1.5. The final swing will be an AoE, which is pretty damn useful. This helps him clear out lots, and it gives him a nice big cleave, and it does really nice amounts of damage. So that's pretty sweet, even with his basics. Now his 1 is called Death Scythe. Thanatos flings his scythe into an enemy, dealing damage of an additional 10% of that target's maximum HP against enemy gods. Enemies hit are slowed for 3 seconds and heal Thanatos based on the damage dealt. This will consume 5% of his current HP used. So, interesting here is you will heal for 10% of their HP, or you will deal 10% of their HP in damage, and 75% of that you will heal back, which is pretty awesome. So I'll show you what this is. Level 1. As you can see, it's a line ability, has 70 range on it, and it does this. So as you can see, there was 2 ticks of damage there. There was an 80, or an 85 and a 45. The 45 was the 10% of their health, and the 85 was my Death Scythe damage. So this is Thanatos' bread and butter for his damage burst. It's got a Soul Reaver on it. So yeah, it's got Soul Reaver as its as part of its ability. Also slowing for 25%. That is very strong. Very strong, to be fair. I'm also just going to quickly grab these just so that I can see. This thing has what looks to be 60% scaling. Yeah, it's 60%. So that's pretty good scaling as well. So that's not bad. 60% scaling on that, you're going to hit for a fairly decent amount. Now, Thanatos' 2 is probably the most interesting piece in his kit. So I'm actually going to save this for last. We will come back to it. We're going to talk about his 3 next, and that is Soul Reap. Thanatos swings his scythe, dealing physical damage and silencing enemies hit. Thanatos moves at a reduced rate while swinging, but this will consume 5% of Thanatos' current HP whilst used. I believe it's 50% movement speed you'll move at. Oops, that was his 2, did not mean to pick that up. We'll pick up his 3. As you can see, it's a fairly decent sized cone, and walking forward, it's like that. So yeah, you move about the same speed as you do when going backwards, which I believe is 50%. So yeah, that's pretty good. There's also as well, you can get a fairly good basic attack in if you're right on someone with that Death Scythe. But your Death Scythe is basically what you want to use for poke. So you can go like that. And there you go. So the swing on that is pretty nice. You do lose a health from that, but it's okay. The silence is 1 second at all ranks, so it's pretty nice to use, and you just have a 1 second silence. Now, what you'll notice as well about a lot of his abilities is they all cost very low mana. Take a look, you have 25 scaling up to 65, 20 to 40, 25 to 45. Thanatos has very, very decent mana consumption. The problem is in his health, but that's not to worry. First of all, let's take a quick look at that ultimate, Hovering Death. This is the radius of 15, this is a ground target, affects all enemies, and this is awesome. Thanatos flaps his wings and ascends for 5 seconds unable to be hit. Whilst airborne, he moves unimpeded at an increased speed before diving onto his target location. Dealing damage, enemies that are below a threshold are instantly killed. All others are stunned. This consumes 10% of Thanatos' current HP. This will do 230 damage. Well, 230 damage base plus 90% scaling. That, however, is not what you're looking for. 40% of the HP's current health will grant you the ability to execute them. Executes do 9,999 damage. So, that is pretty sick. I'm just going to show you as well. I'm going to try and just sort of poke out this bitch here, and I missed. We'll pretend that I didn't miss that. So yeah. So what I want to do is I want to get him into the threshold right now because that will help. This should get him in there. That didn't get him into the threshold. Okay, well. I want to get him into the threshold, but I don't want to kill him accidentally. Alright, I'm pretty sure he's under the threshold right now because he's level 5. What is his health? Yeah, 700. This should kill him if I do that. But, essentially we go up. And then... Never mind, it wasn't the threshold. That's the threshold. I should have known that was the threshold. You get to see it. This is what you see when someone's in the threshold. Hear that sound? That is the sound of someone in the threshold. You can see them from anywhere on the map that they are in that threshold. And now you see Rara is not. Whoops. Didn't quite mean to kill him, but it's okay. That's what happens when you go up into the air. If they have that X on them, that means that if you land on them, you will execute them. That is very strong. However, we have not talked about the coup de grace, most interesting and awesome, is probably the best way I can describe it, piece on his kit, and that is Scent Death. Thanatos senses death, gaining immunity to slow effects and additional movement speed and physical penetration for 6 seconds. His speed bonus increase is doubled when moving towards an enemy with the instant kill health threshold of his ultimate. What this actually means is if there is someone on low health, he will gain the bonus movement speed, as far as I can tell. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. So, that is pretty damn strong. You can gain a bonus 60% movement speed and 35 flat penetration. This ability is on a 13-second cooldown, ladies and gentlemen. Bearing in mind, since we'll be going for that 40% CDR, we're going to say that this is roughly going to be on a 7-second timer. It's somewhere around that. I don't exactly have the ability to necessarily do the math. I'm going to say 7. So, 7 seconds cooldown, and this thing lasts for 6 seconds. Alright, we'll say that's 1 second. 8 seconds, 9 seconds, you name your pick. There is between like a 1 and 3 second window when Scent Death is on cooldown. That is very strong. Not to mention as well, reducing the cooldown by 5 seconds when you use Scent Death. So watch this. This is Scent Death, and as you can see, all your stuff hits harder, which is amazing. Not only that as well, but if you use Scent Death and fly into the air, you'll have that increased movement speed and everything. So, this is very strong. So what we can do is this. Get under the threshold, and now you can see the execution threshold. Where it's lower, we're going to gain 20% movement speed when we use Scent Death. And I'm pretty sure it does work this way, so yep. Okay, no, it does only work when you move towards them. But that is 60% movement speed, and we'll pretend that I hit that. That's an important thing as Thanatos. Make sure you're aiming for them in the right spots. I'm not going to say that I'm the best Thanatos, but I understand how he works, so yeah, that's the thing. If you're moving towards a target, basically if they're in the same general direction as you, you will gain that movement speed, meaning you can chase down a target pretty much from anywhere. Like, if you're over the other side of the map, and there is, I don't know, you're ganking solo lane, and someone over in left lane is, like, the ADCs are boxing, and they go into the threshold, and you want to chase down your target, and you scent death, as long as you're looking roughly in the same direction, you'll gain that movement speed. Thanatos can chase down people stupid hard. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is his kit. Some of the most interesting aspects of the kit are definitely going to be using his 2. You want to use his 2 pretty much as often as possible, because, oh my god, it's so good. 35 flat pen, 30% movement speed, and immunity to slow. That's pretty good. Not gonna lie, that's pretty good. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have gone over the kit. Now, it is time to go over a build for Thanatos. Okay then, so Thanatos in the jungle. I'm going to go for the jungle build out of here. I will mention variations that you can go for based for if you're going to be the solo. However, I would say that jungle is probably the best role for him, seeing as he can exert so much pressure early on and still transition into the late game. So, Bumba's Mask. You get Bumba's Masks. It's 500 gold. Before, people used to and ah over whether or not you get Bumba's Masks, and the idea was, Thanatos has his passive, so he can heal up off camps anyway. Why not just get something else instead? The reason you get it is for the gold gain. Plus, also as well, the sustain coming through with the mana as well. Really, really useful. And since they're changing, I'm currently doing this on 4.2, 4.1, 4.2, whatever it is. 4.3 is the next one, so I'm on 4.2. So I'm going to be talking about this regards 4.3, so just keep that in mind. Some of these numbers may look different to you. That's okay, don't worry about it. I'm going to be talking as if it's 4.3. So yeah, Bumba's Mask. Bumba's Mask is great. It means he can get healing. It means he can get mana back. It's great. It does him so much goodness. The only awkward thing is the health. It does mean that everything's going to take 5 more health off you if it's 10% and 3 health, but that's minuscule to be honest. And also we're going to get Bluestone Pendant. The reason you get Bluestone Pendant is because A, none of the others are really that useful for him. Great, you got War Flag, not helpful for him. Great, you got Swiftwing, not helpful for him. Watcher's Gift, what are you doing? Mark of the Vanguard, not helpful for him. Death's Toll has health and sustain from health and mana. He doesn't need that. So Bluestone Pendant, giving him more damage. Early game, Thanatos will hit you for minimum 10% of your HP, based off the fact that Death Scythe hits for 10% of your HP. Now also couple in the fact that Odin level 1 had 45 going through on the 10% and 85 going through. You're hitting for 30% of someone's HP. That is a lot. Now tick in Bluestone as well, you can take that up to like 35. That's pretty good. That's pretty damn good. So we get that. After you get that, you're going to pick up your Warrior Tabby. Gives you movement speed, gives you physical power. You need a boatload of it. So you get that. If you feel like it and you want to put a bit of pressure around the map, you can go to Laria Boots, but honestly, it's not worth it, in my opinion. I'd rather just get that solid damage and get the kills rather than, I procced you, you know, get that Warrior Tabby. Warrior Tabbies do a lot of good for you. Next thing you want to pick up, Heart Seekers. This item, I'm pretty sure hasn't been touched in 4.3. Why, I don't know, but this gives you 25 physical power, 10 penetration, and 10% movement speed. Here's the thing, guys. That 10 penetration is all you need on Thanatos. And here's the reason why. Remember when we talked about Scent Death? Remember that it has penetration on it? That goes against the stats here of flat penetration. That means that on flat penetration, there is a 50 flat penetration cap. If you buy much more, if you buy 5 more penetration, you will not cap CDR. You will not cap it. Or you will not cap penetration, sorry. Which is fine. However, honestly, you don't really need to worry about that. Because 35 gives you 45 flat pen. That's all the pen you're going to need. Bearing in mind, remember we talked about the cooldown on Scent of Death is going to be with 40% CDR. It's going to be about 8 seconds. In fact, we'll tell you in a minute. But you've got 6 seconds that it's on cooldown for. It's like 3 seconds at most. It's going to be on cooldown. That's fine. So the next item we're going to pick up is going to be Hydras. Hydra's Lament will give you 40 power, 10% cooldown. And then for 8 seconds after using an ability, the next basic attack will deal an additional 30% damage. This ability will also grant you MP5 for 10% of your missing mana. It'll give you 2.5. This is really useful for giving you some cooldown, gives you some sustain. Really, really useful item. Now, here's some interesting things that you can do. You have to think, do I want Hydras first, or do I want Heartseekers? There's 50 gold in it, so we'll argue that there's barely anything. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of maths here. So, we have roughly 120 power here, and 75 power on the basic. So, here's what we're, 175. We're going to use this Odin bot because it really doesn't matter. So, here's the thing. If we sell, we're going to sell Hydras here, because that's also going to help. We have 80 power here, meaning that hitting this will do, at most, an additional 85. Okay? So, we're going to do this, and we're going to do this, and bang! Hits for an additional 85. Okay? Or an additional 80 damage on top of that. That's pretty good. So, now what we need to do is see what Hydras does here. Because Hydras work slightly differently. This will also give you a little bit of cooldown as well. So let's see the additional Hydras proc. My basic here hits for 126. When I hit Hydras, it hits for 164. So it's roughly additional 40. Bearing in mind, ladies and gentlemen, that on a kit rotation, you'll use Hovering Death, Basic, Death Scythe, Basic. It really is 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. It comes down to you. Do you want cooldown more, or do you want movement speed more? If you're fine with saying you want cooldown more, go Hydras first and then get the Heartseekers. It's really up to you. It depends how much basic attacking you're doing in between your poke. Are you poking out with Heartseekers, or are you full committing with Hydras? Either way, you're going to pick up both of them. Whichever order you want, it makes diddly squid difference. If you're going to go for Hydras more, make sure you're aiming that basic attack after, or else you're not getting the point of your Hydras. That's all I'm going to say, is if you're Hydrasing, then you're going to want to be using your ult more, and you're going to be hitting people and proccing that basic and proccing that additional damage. If you get that additional damage off once, twice, if you get it off 3 times, then in a fight, then you've got more than you have with the Heartseekers. So, it's up to you on that point. Either way, you're going to pick up both of those, so that's fine. Next item you're going to pick up. Shield of Regrowth. This item is seeing a price increase, so ignore that. It is going to have 200 health, and it is going for a price increase of 2,100. However, this item still has HP 5, which is nice. Still has MP 5, which is nice. Thanatos makes reasonable use of both of these. That 10 HP 5 helps him sustain a little bit more, especially when he's got the jungle stuff as well. The big point though, 20% CDR. This is still the cheapest item to have 20% CDR on it. And that passive, after healing yourself from an ability, you gain 40% movement speed for 4 seconds. Thanatos' Death Scythe counts as a heal. Thanatos' passive counts as a heal. This means that Thanatos can get 40% bonus movement speed, not to mention 30% bonus movement speed from his 2. That is 70% bonus movement speed. Now, this does include DR. This doesn't include DR. So, all in all, Thanatos can get a stupid amount of movement speed, and Shield of Regrowth still works good on him. Yes, it is nerfed, but it is good on him. Next up, sell your bombers and get Titan's Bane. Titan's Bane, you remember me saying about how, oh, don't worry about the flat penetration cap, you don't want to overcap that. This is percentage penetration. This does nothing with flat penetration. So as a result, Titan's Bane gives you 33%. Your Scent of Death plus Heartseekers gives you 45 penetration. You have 45 flat pen, and then 33% of whatever's left. If I'm doing this correct, it should be that way around. I don't remember exactly which way around it is. I'll put on the screen right now the orders that it does it. It's Word of Thoth. I might link that in the description as well. But essentially, you pen a boatload of protections from them. An absolute crap ton. So, it's damn good. Titan's Bane is damn good. Some of you may look at Crusher. It has changed now to give attack speed, a bit of physical power, and 15 pen. We don't really need to worry about the pen. However, you may be looking at the passive thing. Successfully hitting an enemy god with a basic attack subtracts a second from your abilities. Once every 5 seconds. No. Get the Titan's Bane. You already have this passive better built into your kit. Don't look at it. Don't look at it. Don't look at any of these. You don't need to look at any of these. Anti-heal doesn't fucking matter when you've killed them. So ignore that. That doesn't matter. Titan's Bane is what you want. So we picked that up. Finally, the last item that you want. If you're going to be going into these frontline situations, you're going to need some physical and magical protections. So, getting some physical and magical protections is not a bad idea. If you need it, Spirit's Robe is there. It caps you with the 10% CDR, giving you that 40%, that magic 40%. 40 physical and magical is good. It doesn't have any health, which is bad for Thanatos. So that is pretty nice. Also, giving you that 15% mitigation when you get hit by hard crowd control is so useful. Because what this means is, if Thanatos can be a bit of a menace. He can be a bit annoying. He wants to get in and out of fights, just blowing people up. If you can CC him, he has problems. However, you got mitigations there. Yeah, that's useful. If you're stupid far ahead, Mantle of Discord. Because, you know, Mantle of Discord procs. It means you can be aggressing into people, and then suddenly, bang, you have now 1 second stun. Bang, they're now kind of got problems with that. So as a result, Mantle of Discord lets you proc that, and bang, now they have issues. Other options you can go for, if they don't have any real magical that's a problem for you, there's Gladiator's Shield. Every time you hit an enemy god, you heal for 2% of your max HP and mana, which isn't bad. Once per ability, Gladiator's Shield can be nice. This can be nice for the solo lane as well if you want. Other options, there's... what else is there? If you want just physical, just high physical, there's Hide of Nemain Lion if you need it. There's Midgardian Mails, Spectral Armors there. Shifter's Shield is nice if you feel that you want to be really power-based, because you get that 60% when you're... or 60 power when you're above 50% and 40 protections from each when you're below it. However, I just feel that CCR is better for him. Hide of the Urchin, whilst you may look at this thing is good, giving it health is bad because you don't want to give Thanatos health. The only option I would say about that is maybe Magi's Blessing, but even then, you're still probably looking more for these two trees are probably better off for him. So usually I'd go Spirit's Robe just because it's the cheaper of the two. In terms of actives, Beads, pretty good. You can go for a Blink if you want. Blink is available. Sunder is there. Aegis is there. Really, there's not much you necessarily need on Thanatos. Aegis is there if you need to just make sure that you're not going to die. It really comes down to how you feel. Like, if you feel like you want to just blink in at someone, then do so. I do want to check, though. Okay, it doesn't. I just wanted to check whether or not using your Scent Death or using taking damage from your own stuff would proc it. It doesn't, so that's fine. However, I would always recommend getting Beads first. Get Beads first because that's useful. And then once you hit that magical number of level 12, then you'll want to grab your Aegis or whatever, your Blink, your Aegis, whatever you feel most comfortable with. I personally feel that Aegis is probably for the best here. But either way, ladies and gentlemen, I'll quickly just get you up to level 20, and we'll see just exactly where we sit with this build. So, already you can see we have 470 movement speed, and that will proc itself up to there, and then just bonk that, and now suddenly we have 620 movement speed. That's pretty good. So what we're going to do is I just want to proc this. Okay, that was a lot of damage. That was a lot of damage. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over the full kit rotation of what you're going to do if you have someone who is not under the threshold. What you're going to do is you're going to go up into the air. You're going to land down on someone. Basic. Death Scythe basic. Hit that. Basic. 3 basics in there at most. If you can get your Scent of Death off as well, then do so because that's useful. But Scent of Death, stupid strong. And as you can see, you just do a lot of damage. You just really poke them. You poke them hard. Like, Scent of Death as much as you can. It's so strong. Like, that's a lot of damage. But look at that. And now look at this. That's a lot. That's a lot of basics, ladies and gentlemen. That is a lot of basics. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, now that we've gone over a build for him, let's go over a leveling guide for dear old Thanatos. Alright then, so, level 1 for Thanatos. Due to the fact that you are going to be starting in either mid lane or the solo lane, you need to think not necessarily so much about which one does the most damage to enemies or which one does the most damage to camps. You need to think about it from regards of which one does the most damage to everything. Whilst Death Scythe does the most damage in terms of, because it does 10% of HP to things, that doesn't actually offer you much AoE because it's a single line ability. So as a result, you start with your 3. Starting with your 3 does 100 damage to everything in the range, and also as well can be useful for silencing out aggression from your enemies. So as a result, picking that up first is what's best for you. Now that we've done that, you're going to move over and you're going to hit level 2. At level 2, you do want your Death Scythe. Death Scythe means that whilst you're poking out enemies in the wave, you can really start poking them and hit Death Scythe and heal up and sustain. Once you got that, you're gonna want to grab, at this point, I would probably say that grabbing another point in Death Scythe is going to be useful. There are 3 schools of thought here. One school of thought is, I'm probably going to be stuck with the jungle a little bit longer, so it would be best to max my clear. However, maxing more into Soul Reap kind of takes away the point of you starting to get Death Scythe up, and you don't really want to be putting points into Soul Reap much. So as a result, you're like, that's kind of awkward. So the next one you could think of is Death Scythe. At this point, if we're not going to put a point in our 3, why not just put a point in our 1? Make Death Scythe do more. If Death Scythe's our big damage thing, let's do that. So most of the time, I would say do that. However, Scent of Death giving you that 15 penetration at level 3, that's a lot, I'm not going to lie. Plus immunity to slow, that's pretty good, and it can help you chase down the target. So I would recommend Scent of Death, just because it's not really that impactful on your mana, and it gives you penetration, which is nice, and it helps you chase down any targets if you're able to push them out early. After this, ladies and gentlemen, you will want to start putting points into Death Scythe. At this point, you get Hovering Death. Hovering Death is the thing that you pick up every single chance you can get, because there is no point not getting it, because that execute threshold is what you need. Death Scythe should be leveled up again, and again level 7. At level 8, you can think here, and this comes down to player preference here. It's up to you. At this point, you could turn around and say, another point in Scent Death, more movement speed, more penetration. That's pretty good. So you could get that. Or you could wait and get a point in your Death Scythe and in your Hovering Ult. We know at level 9 we're going to be getting a point in Hovering Death. It depends whether or not we want that extra point in Death Scythe. So let's weigh it up. 90 damage on Death Scythe. 90 additional damage will come through if we level that up at level 9 with our Hovering Death. Or 5 movement speed and 5 flat pen. Honestly, I like getting the additional Scent Death point. Completely up to you at this point. What you want to do, you can hold a point, whatever, it's up to you. But I will get Scent of Death. Either way, level 9, whatever you're doing, you'll get that second point in Hovering Death. Be that with your 1, with your ult, whatever, it doesn't matter. At level 10, you'll start picking up either the point in Scent of Death or the the Death Scythe. So this is what you'll look like at level 10. So that's what you'll look like. At this point, you'll want to start maxing out Scent of Death. There is absolutely no reason to get any points in Soul Reap. It does the 1 second silence when you have it at this level, so there's no point not getting it. This point, level 13, Hovering Death. Absolutely, without question, Hovering Death. Then finally, Scent Death. And now we pick up Soul Reap, and we get Hovering Death whenever we can. So we get that there, we get that there, and then we get that there, ladies and gentlemen. So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. This is Thanatos. One of the funnest gods in the game in terms of being able to just kick major ass. I do realize I didn't quite go over a build for the solo lane, so I'm quickly going to go over that real quick. What you'd go for in the solo lane. You'd probably get a teleport instead of your sanctuary. So instead of getting that, you would get that. In the solo lane, you got two options. Do you want to start with sustain, or do you want to be tankier? The physical protection is nice if you're going against a physical god. If you're not going against physical gods, remember this is really going to proc against minions, and the flat reduction of 5 protections. If you're going in the solo lane, chances are it's going to be magical. It will be like a Sobek, Ymir, or a Kabrokan, or maybe a Xing Chen. So Mark of the Vanguard is probably for the best in that situation. Yes, Thanatos, you have to. And then you'll start with these, and you'll start with these. That's what you do. You finish your tank boots. Pretty good. After that, you want to be tankier. You want to get tankier. So if you're going into physical, Gladiator Shield is an option. If not, Breastplate of Valor is a pretty good option. You get Breastplate of Valor, you get a crud load of CDR, you get a crud load of protections and all that good stuff. After that, next thing you're really going to look at is Shield of Regrowth, because it's so good on him. That's all your CDR sorted. That's your physical protection, that's your CDR sorted. Everything is fine from that regard. After that point, you can start looking at things like Hydra's Lament, or if instead of Hydra's Lament, you can look more at the Heart Seeker, which is what I'd recommend. You get the Heart Seeker. All right, next thing you're going to want to get is Titan's Bane. You got Titan's Bane. Now you're going to want some magical protection. What magical protection could you get? We want a high magical protection. Up to you, really. You can get that. You can get Shifter Shield, whatever. Gladiator Shield is an option if you want to go instead of Breastplate of Valor. It's up to you. Basic build is pretty much the exact same thing. Only difference is you're going to build a little bit more tanky frontliney rather than full pen. So you're not going to get Hydras at all, and you're not going to get your Hydras, and you're not going to get really Spirit's Robe. You can go Spirit's Robe, though. It's perfectly fine. Really, it's up to you. Spirit's Robe is still pretty good. So there you go. As a result, this is pretty much a solo lane build. You're more tanky, so therefore you're better off for it. If you're going against magical stuff, pick up like a Genji's Garb. Genji's Garb is great for you. MP5, cooldown reduction, all that good stuff. Either way, ladies and gentlemen, that shall conclude your God Guide, kit explanation, and build for Thanatos, the Hand of Death. My name has been SuperSonicBlur. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and favorite for more, and to share this stuff so people know that it exists. Let me know down in the comment section down below whether or not you guys found this useful, or whether or not there are any gods that you want me to cover in a God Guide. I shall see you all next time.